to our Lit Tuesdays. We are very excited this week to have tons of nonfiction books. We have nonfiction juvenile books, nonfiction adult books, and we're just excited to dive in. Sometimes nonfiction books are not that enticing.
Yeah, they're like, But the one thing about nonfiction is that it covers a wide variety of stuff.
That's very true.
So it's not like you're like stuck in like this one little category. Like you can explore all different kinds of areas when you come to nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made me really excited, like looking for these books and like grabbing and talking about. I was like, oh, there's these. Oh, well, nonfiction is this too. Oh, and then there's this too.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
there's so much stuff. So we have a whole variety of things today. Where should we start?
You can start on your end. I think we started this way last time.
Well, I'm really excited about this book, actually. It's called The Writer's Library, and it's a book like from authors that you love, and it's about all the books that they like. And I thought that was really cool, because, I don't know, when you love an author, you admire them and their writing style, and you're wondering how they're influenced. And this book, it has 23 of today's living literary legends, and it says they're revealing the books. Living. I know. It's true.
Living.
So it's just like lots of different famous authors right now, and you get to hear kind of who inspired them. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a really cool book, and I'll have to look for an author that sounds interesting.
If you don't know what nonfiction is, because I thought about that too, because sometimes we refer to fiction and nonfiction, and people are like, well, what's the difference? Mm-hmm. Nonfiction is real, and fiction is fake. That's like the best way to describe it, especially when you're explaining to someone, like, do you want something that's like actual real context about it, or do you want to just venture into like the imaginary world? Mm-hmm. So when you want stuff that's real and actually credited and information, then nonfiction is your way to go.
Yeah. And I kind of think about it like fact or fiction. So fiction is, not fact. So then nonfiction is fact. That's kind of how it helps me remember. But, okay. I think I'm going to read a little bit from, I hope I'm saying his name right, Amor Towles? He is the one that wrote A Gentleman from Moscow, and Rules of Civility, like some kind of popular fiction books that made him kind of famous. So he's an author you may have heard of, and I'll read a little bit about him. And and it gives their bio too, so that's kind of cool. You can read how you might know them first. But were you a big reader as a kid? For me, reading and writing went in lockstep. I remember vividly when my first grade teacher invited a friend of hers named David McCord, a juvenile poet of local renown, to come read to our class. He was probably in his 60s and had written a number of books of poetry. I remember thinking he was the coolest. We had the opportunity to buy his books at the end of class. I bought 2, and within 24 hours I was writing rip-off versions of his work. They were often rhyming celebrations of everyday objects, and from that point on for me it was read, write, repeat. I grew up in the 70s in a waspy, middle-class suburb outside of Boston. At the time, going to the movies or a restaurant was a big deal in our family, an unusual treat. But my father always said, if you want a book, I'll buy it. At some point, I got the first Hardy Boys mystery, and that summer I read the entire series. I got to the point where I was reading one a day, sending my dad back to the store every afternoon and being excited to start the next one that night. Later, I discovered the short stories of Ray Bradbury. I started with The Illustrated Man, and when my mother saw how much I enjoyed that book, she got me his collected stories for my birthday. That was the first time I had a sprawling body of work bound in a single volume, something I was very impressed by. Then it was Ian Fleming's James Bond novels. At each step, I was writing something. So by the time I reached high school, reading and writing were my primary passions. So, yeah, it's really cool.
It's like an interview. Like a full-blown interview.
It is like an interview format. Like, they'll ask questions and he'll answer them. But, yeah, even in that first paragraph, he said all these influences he already had. And that's really sweet that his dad said...
It's the 70s and the Hardy Boys. People still read the Hardy Boys now.
That's true. I know. The Hardy Boys are, like, forever in our minds. But, yeah, like, if you want a book, I'll buy it. His dad said that no matter what. That's really sweet. But, yeah, I think this is a really cool book. And it's also one of those ones where if you, like, don't know the author, you don't have to read it. You know, you can just go to the ones you like and read those, or they're pretty short, so you can read
or
any of them.
Like, if you don't know the author, but then you end up reading about them, and then while you're reading about them, you're like, oh, maybe I would like to read what they wrote, and then it might introduce you to new material that you would have never gone to on your own.
Yeah, and it says at the very end of each chapter some books in that person's library. So they list some of their favorite books, and it has like a little drawing of them. So it just seems like a really cool book. So what would you give this rating?
I would give that one like a 4 because it's like really introducing you to a bunch of other ones. Mm-hmm. We do have some nonfictions that are in our YA collection that are like that, where they write short poems or short stories all about one subject. So it's not really an interview, but it's a bunch of authors put together, and they all are writing about different stories on one subject, and then it's all compiled. Like, they're really cool, and I love them. They're just really hard to catalog, because then it has all of them in there.
So many authors.
Put them under.
But yeah, I would give that one a 4 as well. It seems pretty interesting.
See, nonfiction is always hard to rate, or like to even like give it a scale on, because you're like, is it worth or is it not? Like, what do we know? Because I feel like with nonfiction, you have to go through the whole book to really get a feel for it. It's not like fiction where you can just latch on in the first couple of parts, and then it's just like, okay.
And it's true. Like, with this one, some of the stories might be better than others. Like, some of the interviews you might not like as much.
Or someone might be boring, and you're just like,
yeah, it's hard to rate it, but yeah, it seems good for the start, so we'll see.
Well, so all the books that I have over here are different types of varieties of nonfiction, from YA, which is a young adult collection, or JNF, which is our juvenile nonfiction. So our juvenile is your tween little kids area, and that spot and section right here. Like we said earlier, once you hit nonfiction, it gives you a wide variety. Like, we have the cooking, we have poems, history, travel, and stuff like that. But of course, me being me and the stuff that I like, I kind of gravitated towards one area. So we have one that I just want to show you, and then I'll read you guys the one that I really wanted to. But this one is in our nonfiction, and this is actually a graphic novel that is there. So once you hit into the nonfiction area, you can get into the superheroes and stuff like that, which I absolutely love. This is Beginning of the Parts of the Flashpoint Paradox, which is such an amazing story. But the one I want to show you guys right now is a nonfiction, and it's called The Lady of the Black Lagoon, Hollywood Monsters and the Lost Legacy of, how would you say it, Millicent?
Yeah, I think so.
Millicent Patrick. So she is the person, or she was actually one of Disney's first female animators and the only woman in history to create one of Hollywood's classic monster movies, and that's going to be The Creature of the Black Lagoon. So I thought this was really cool whenever it first came in and I cataloged it. First, I was drawn to the cover because, as you guys know, I've told you this before, I judge books by covers. I'm a terrible person, and I judge them by the cover, and I was like, oh, this is cool, I wonder what it's about, and then that's when I went through the insert, and I was just like, I'm even more captivated. But what I'm going to do is actually going to read the insert right here, because I feel like this part just totally, like, captivates you, makes you be like, oh my gosh, I should read this. Okay. But it's the lady from the Black Lagoon uncovers the life and work of Millicent Patrick, one of Disney's first female animators and the only woman in history to create one of Hollywood's classic movie monsters. As a teenager, Mallory O'Mara, I think that's how you say her last name, was thrilled to discover that one of her favorite movies, The Creature from the Black Lagoon, featured a monster designed by a woman, Millicent Patrick. But for someone who should have been hailed as a pioneer in this genre, there was little information available. For as O'Hara soon discovered, Patrick's contribution had been claimed by a jealous male colleague. Her career had been cut short and soon after had disappeared from the film history. No one ever knew if she was alive. As a young woman working in the horror film industry, O'Hara set out to right this wrong, and in the process discovered a full, fascinating story of the ambitious artistic woman ahead of her time. Patrick's contribution to special effects provided to be just the latest chapter in a remarkable, unconventional life. From her young growing up in the shadow of the Hearst Castle to her career as one of Disney's first female animators, and at last O'Hara discovered what really had happened to Patrick after The Creature's success and where she went. This is a true-life detective story and a celebration of the forgotten feminist trailblazer Mallory O'Meara's The Lady of the Black Lagoon establishes Patrick in her rightful place in the film history while calling out a Hollywood culture where little has changed since.
Wow. That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I had no idea that she was the only female to create this horror movie and be an animator at Disney. So that's really cool.
And The Creature of the Black Lagoon is pretty old. So this is way back when. This is for real. Wow. But yeah, so whenever I had read that and I was just like, yo, I want to read more than this. And then it got added to my to read list. And then of course you know that pesky to read list.
It's getting longer.
It's there. But I just thought it was really fascinating that people should know about it, because who would have thought that The Creature of the Black Lagoon came and was created by a female, but was unfortunately overshadowed for who created it, and it was taken from her. So then that was just heartbreaking. But there is this one. How do you feel about this?
I feel like I want to give it a 4. It seems so interesting to me. I had no idea about the story, and isn't that cool? You can just read that book jacket.
And it gives you.
Yeah, and I'm totally interested now.
Sold on it, and it has a picture of the author in the back, and she looks really rad, by the way.
Yeah, she does look cool.
She looks like a person that, you know what this means. This
really edgy.
And I love it.
Cute. Okay, I love it. Would you give it a 4 too?
Oh, I would. Yeah. Definitely would, because it's still on my to-read list. It's never been one of those books that you put on your to-read list and you take it off you're never going to read it. No, I still want to read it.
Yeah, you're going to read it. Don't worry.
One of these days I'm going to come to you so I read the book, and guess what?
Yeah, tell me. I know. I got to add it to my list too. Okay, well, do you want to do one of the...
We can do a kids one. There's other books in here as well that I want to show you guys, but this is the one I want to be full-blown. So when you hit the nonfiction area, like we said, it gives you a wide variety of stuff, and you also hit the comics and the superheroes and the stuff like that, but you also hit an area where there is even graphic novels and mangas or anime books where it can retell classic stories.
Yeah, that's cool. We
have a whole collection back here called the Manga Classics, and it goes over classic stories throughout literary history. So there's the Jungle Book, there's the Monte Carlo, there's Tom Sawyer, there's all different types of them, and it breaks down those classic books to be little comics for you to enjoy, which is really awesome. Or you can find books that if, when you're a kid and you're going through puberty and stuff like that and you want to read about it, we have books like that. Or there's just fun manga books to enjoy. Then there's even somewhere stories for kids who dared to be different, a true tale of amazing people who stood up and stood out. You can learn about people throughout history that's made differences. If you need to do a book report, nonfiction is your area to be, because you will find whatever you need. And of course, you have the good old classic Guinness Book of World Records in our nonfiction, because you find a lot of fact when you hit this area. But one book that I wanted to show is a nonfiction book, but these are joke books. You can find joke books, you can find cooking books and stuff like that, but I wanted to grab this one, and if you can tell by the cover of this book, obviously it's been loved a lot.
Popular.
And it is to go for it. And I love joke books because they give you the most cheesy jokes, and it's just why didn't I think of that, and why am I laughing so hard?
This is what we want to be reading right now. I love this.
So there's this one. And are you guys ready for this joke? It says, how did the basketball court get wet?
I don't know.
The players dribbled all over it.
No! I love it.
It was really...
And they always make so much sense. Once you hear it, you're like, of course!
Yeah, of course they dribble, because you're dribbling, There's another one. It's called Doctor, Doctor, I Feel Like a Cricket Ball. And then the answer was, you'll soon be over it. I guess crickets. Those are jokes. It's just literal crickets.
Oh.
So then there's another one. This one is witty. This one's in a chapter called A Witty Waiter. Mm-hmm. It says, waiter, this soup tastes funny. And then the waiter replies, why aren't you laughing then?
Can you imagine if someone said that to you?
Oh my gosh. I will just look at him did you really talk to me like that?
But also, it would be kind of funny. Yeah.
It would be one of those things too where you're laughing and then you're Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. They're either getting no tip or extra tip.
I know, I was gonna say extra tip.
And then there's like a farmyard fun. Why did the ram fall over the cliff?
I don't know.
Because he didn't see the U-turn.
Oh, that's pretty cute.
If you guys don't know what an ewe is, ewe is an animal. It's E-W-E.
Isn't it like a baby sheep?
It's like
or
a
something?
baby.
Yeah.
It's another animal. Oh my gosh.
Wow, I love it a lot.
What did the baby chick say when he saw his mother sitting on an orange? Dad, look at what Mama laid. She laid an orange. What do you call a pig running around naked?
Oh no.
Streaky bacon.
Cute.
Which dance will chickens not do?
I always want to figure them out, but I don't know.
The foxtrot.
Oh, there you go.
Because chickens are afraid of foxes, if you didn't know. Let's see. What do you call a bee born in May?
Maybe.
Yes.
Really? Very literal.
Yes, that's how I was just like.
Sometimes they're like really good, and sometimes you're like.
Let's see. What do you call a lion that has eaten your mother's sister?
Oh no, your mother's sister? I don't know.
An anteater.
Oh, there you go.
Because he ate your aunt. Your mother's sister is your aunt. But there is tons in here that are like, they're just so hilarious. What do you call someone who doesn't... What do you call someone who doesn't fart in public?
Oh no.
A private tutor.
I like that one.
Because they tooted. I love it. Okay. You got another one for us? Because I feel like that's what I have for you.
Okay, well, I can read a little bit of this one. I was kind of interested in it. But yeah, again, you pick it because it's a cool cover sometimes. And that's okay. You don't have to feel bad about that. This one I just liked. It was pink. It has all this confetti.
Who doesn't love confetti?
And it has a quote on the front that says, "Laugh out loud funny. R. Eric Thomas is one of my favorite writers." And Lin-Manuel Miranda said that. I love Lin-Manuel Miranda. So I'm a big Hamilton fan. Yeah. So I was like, well, it must be good, you know. I trust him. But yeah, I'll read the book jacket for this one as well. But it's just kind of about, like, this guy's life. It's a series of essays. And it says, it's called Here For It by R. Eric Thomas, or How to Save Your Soul in America. And it's just kind of like how he felt really different and how he, like, I don't know, just kind of went through life, even through struggles, and found, like, joy from it. So, kind of cool. I'll read the book jacket. R. Eric Thomas didn't know he was different until the world told him so. Everywhere he went, whether it was his rich, mostly white suburban high school, his conservative black church, or his big city Ivy League college, he found himself on the outside looking in. In essays by turns hilarious and heartfelt, Thomas re-examines what it means to be an other through the lens of his own experience. He explores the two worlds of his childhood, the barren urban landscape in which his parents' house was a bright spot, and the Eden-like school they sent him to in white suburbia. He writes about struggling to reconcile his Christian identity with his sexuality, the exhaustion of code switching in college, accidentally getting famous on the internet, and the surreal experience of covering the 2016 election for Elle.com, and the seismic changes that came thereafter. Ultimately, Thomas seeks the answer to these even more relevant questions. Is the future worth it? Why do we bother when everything seems to be getting worse? As the world continues to shift in unpredictable ways, Thomas finds the answers to these questions by re-envisioning what normal means, and in the powerful alchemy that occurs when you, at last, place yourself at the center of your own story. I know, it just sounds kind of nice. It's about, like, your identity, and figuring out who you are, and dealing with so many different, you know, weird parts of life that I feel like we all can connect to, you know? Like, talks about religion, sexuality, about race, like, so many things. Yeah, and getting famous on the internet, we all have to deal with it, you know. I don't know, it's just kind of fun. I felt like it, you know, it's, like, really empowering, so...
And which nonfiction is really good for that, too. Nonfiction can give you some books that are just like, you know what, this is my life-changing book right here.
Yeah.
And I know that's happened with a couple of nonfiction books that I found. It's like, you know what, I can read this book over and over and still grab something from it.
And it makes you feel like you're not alone. Like, you can connect with someone else's experience and feel like, oh, wow, they've gone through that too. So it's like, it's different than fiction because you know it's real. Yeah. And you can just really, like, believe it and connect to it. So, yeah, nonfiction. We love it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, we love all parts of the library, but nonfiction is really, really good.
And so diverse, like you said. We have so many different books we talked about today. We read joke books, and then we talked about, like, writers and
actual life experiences and stuff like that. So, but I think that's all we have for today. That's all we got. Yeah. That is all we have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's Literature Tuesday. And we hope to see you guys next week whenever we bring our next subject, which I totally blanked on what it was.
I don't know. It's a secret.
It's a secret to you. It's a secret to me. But do like, subscribe, hit that notification button so that way you guys can be alerted and know when we upload our latest videos. And we hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.